Hey guys, I wanted to bring you an update video here for the beta branches. There's been even more changes. It's actually getting a little bit hard to keep track of what's changing and all that sort of stuff, but I'll do my best to try and keep you guys posted. So a couple of major things to sort of point out here. First and foremost, a lot of the values have been brought back up. Some of the nerfs for blessings, for example, damage blessings and area blessings and stuff like that were changed again, brought back up. Master and Legend offers, it's easier to get now. Master offers have been brought up, but they are spread more out across your gear affixes, so you're going to have to dedicate a couple more affixes to them. Legend offers, it is possible to get 100% Legend offers now. You are going to have to dedicate a few pieces, really, to Legend offers to get there, though. A lot of the builds feel much stronger now. Now, Nixie actually has a few builds now that feel relatively strong. Skadi, some of the builds in Skadi's skill tree now feel really powerful, like the summoning one, for example. The status effects on Skadi are still a little like, because fire damage just doesn't do that much. The poison damage on Nixie feels really good because you can stack it up quite a bit, and you can buff it through her attack damage, skill tree. For Skadi, it still feels a little like, Skadi still feels a little weak in the status effect, specifically, especially if you try and do fire, because fire, I don't know, the fire damage is still just not doing that much. But there are more builds that feel really strong now, so like the summoning builds feel really good. I did a dash build on Maris that felt pretty cracked. But there's also been a lot of the gear affixes that have changed again here. So Queen of Worms, for example, down to 60%, which is cool, I guess. It was kind of cracked before at 100%, but as you can see, the Master offer has now been brought back up on it. So it's actually even higher than where it is in the live game, which is kind of crazy. Wings of Color, for example, now has the dash damage back on it. Yay! I don't know why that was removed in the first place, but hey. There also, I've been noticing some other like pretty cracked gear rolls dropping for me. I had one that was 250% damage versus undamaged enemies. I think it's been toned down again. So some of these values, I think, have been changed again overnight when I was sleeping. So yeah, it's pretty hard for me to keep a track of exactly every single change that's going on here at the moment. I have been trying to do some testing and all that. We did some more testing last night, and definitely there are more builds that feel stronger now. So if build variety is the ultimate goal, we're at least getting closer. Now, I do want to mention one thing though. Perhaps it is a little too easy at Darkness 100 right now. I don't know. Some of the builds felt pretty strong, but I would prefer there be more builds than it to feel nearly impossible for me personally. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. We all talk about difficulty and balance philosophy too in a second, because I think that's pretty important to talk about now. We'll get into it now, why not? So one of the things that's kind of crazy to me personally is the notion or the idea that your difficulty system should feel nearly impossible. So this is something that the devs one of the devs talked about in the Discord, saying that Darkness 100 should basically feel nearly impossible, or be barely like a 5% win rate, or it should be designed for the 0.001% of players, the super duper crazy hardcore, super crazy, players, which to me is like really a crazy philosophy to try and balance your game around something like that. Not only does it alienate normal players, it'll push people away. It'll even push a lot of hardcore players away who grind a lot. They grind your game a ton. They take the time to learn the maps, the enemies, the skills, all of that type of stuff. They do build crafting to get like a really crazy strong build, and they get more skilled at the game. They like their mechanics, their physical mechanics of playing the game, they get better at it. You go through all that, you spend what? Couple of 100 hours grinding, and then what? The game should still feel impossible? That to me is a crazy backwards philosophy, to be perfectly honest. Like, I just do not understand that. Like, you're gonna alienate all of your fans who want to play your game and grind your game. Not only that, there is also already a community around your game that enjoys pushing Darkness 100, even if it doesn't feel super duper impossible. You know what I mean? So I made my opinion known in the Discord. I tried to remain respectful because, you know, these guys are a 4-man team and their game is really fun. Obviously, I love this game, you know what I mean? But man, I just think that philosophy is 100% wrong for video games. These games are supposed to be fun. Now, I think Darkness 100... let's be clear here too. I'm the person who loves pushing the crazy builds at Darkness 100 and trying to make them work. That is my whole shtick, right? And even I'm saying, no, this is not the way to balance your game for the future. It's just, it's pretty crazy. I don't know. So the other thing that they talked about was the idea that they want the player perception, like the perception to be, okay, Darkness 30 is where you make the builds and where you do all that sort of stuff. And Darkness 100, like going up to Darkness 100 is just for the hardcore, super hardcore end game challenge being impossible. But number one, that doesn't align with this stuff that you've put in the mailbox, right? All this stuff you've been talking about, where is it? Hold on. That it should be skill, so reaction-based, grinding for better loot, stronger items, etc. Knowledge, so learning, and a bit of luck as well. So there's plenty of RNG in here, so there's plenty of luck already. But the philosophy that they mentioned about Darkness 30 versus Darkness 100, it doesn't really align with what we're talking about here. I don't know, because if you make it so hard that it's like barely you can get a 1 in 20 runs complete, then skill, what does skill matter at that point? It's not really about your skill. And does grinding loot even matter at that point? If you do a completely fully min-maxed build, you spend hundreds of hours grinding gear, and it doesn't matter at the high darkness levels, and this goes out the window. Figuring out skills, talent synergies, enemy attack patterns, all that sort of stuff. If you learn all that sort of stuff, and you start to get really good at it and figure out all the synergies and all that type of stuff, and it still doesn't matter, then what's the point? It's just a pretty crazy way to look at it, I think. And if these three go out the window, and then all of a sudden Darkness 100 just becomes about getting insanely lucky, and, you know, maybe having some good dodging reflexes, I guess, to help dodge the ants and stuff, like, I don't know, I just think that is kind of the wrong philosophy to move ahead with. And it'll alienate so many of your players. It'll make players either get super frustrated and quit, or just call it out as BS, or in the worst case, get just apathetic and just like nap and leave and never come back. And I just think that is totally the wrong way to look at difficulty in most games, but in this game, it's kind of crazy. But the other thing is, like, there's already a community formed around this game. I might have mentioned this before, but there's already community around this game that enjoys pushing up to Darkness 100 and enjoys making builds and getting clears Darkness 100, even if it's not the most insane, crazy kind of difficult thing. But like we were talking about before, the idea of the perception that it should be Darkness 30 is where you should be, and Darkness 100 is just for the super elite hardcore. It's like, when you present a list of difficulty options that goes from 1 up to 100, you've presented that to the player. It's like, here. So you can't just present 1 to 30 to the players and then just hide Darkness 100 over here somewhere. It's like, no, that's not for you. Go away. It's like, that doesn't work either. That's like a crazy kind of outlook, or kind of like, you know, method or whatever you want to call it. That's just kind of insane. I don't know, like. So you can't really hide it from players, and you can't really force players to have a different perception or an idealistic perception that, oh, this the D30 is just for your builds and D100 is just for super hardcore elites. Like, how can you make players have that perception? That's not realistic, I don't think. Like, we have to, I don't know. I think you just have to start thinking about this in just like realistic practical terms. Like, this is a video game too. It should be fun. Yes, it should be challenging at Darkness 100. I agree. I personally love the challenge of beating my head against Darkness 100 with a wacky off-meta build and getting the clear. Like, I enjoy that, right? But even I, as that person, am advocating for no, like, you need this system to feel good for players who are grinding your game a ton and getting the loot and learning and all that stuff. It should feel good for them too. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's a sane or reasonable approach to alienate like literally 99+% of your player base just so this little handful of people can enjoy this insane grind that feels insane, you know, difficulty that feels impossible. I feel quite passionate about this because pretty much everyone in my community here on YouTube that has commented on this stuff agrees with what I'm saying here. They like a challenge and they want to be challenged, but especially after you've grinded so much to min-max your gear and all that stuff, like, you don't want it to feel impossible, in my opinion. And from everyone that I've spoken to here in my community, it kind of agree. Now, in the current beta patch here, maybe it does feel a bit too easy. Maybe things need to get changed a little bit here, but I would prefer it be more build variety than crushingly difficult, like insanely difficult. Man, it's just, I don't know. So this is what I'm talking about down here. Even here, he said the idea that Darkness 30 versus Darkness 100, right, should be only for those looking for an impossible challenge. But then he says it should be all four of these categories: skill, grind, knowledge, and luck. And I just don't think these two things sort of align with each other. And nor do I think this is this is just the wrong philosophy to take for the vast majority of your players, and you have to put them first. I'm sorry if you are one of the 0.1% who just want to constantly beat their head against something and lose over and over again. I'm sorry, but that's not what the vast majority of players enjoy or want. Now, I'm a crazy person who likes beating my head up against it, but I'm advocating for the most of the players, the regular players, the players who love the game and they want to push up there. I just don't think all four of you're talking about being exceptional at all four of these. Okay, so if you've grinded a lot and you have a fully min-max build, if you have vast knowledge of the game, if you're skilled, really skilled at dodging and all that sort of stuff, right? Okay, it's for people who excel at those, plus getting pretty lucky. It's like, that doesn't sound like it should be nearly impossible, right? I don't know, man. I just, it's kind of crazy. Now, I think the goal of build variety is where they should be trying to land here, because I don't know. I think the main problem in the live game is just that there were a few outliers that were too cracked. Most of the builds I did for Darkness 100 were quite challenging to actually get a win on already, right? There were a few outliers for sure, like War Chief, Cast Spam Maris, and Bask and Greatness Laureate. They were in a tier above. I said that in my review video, right? They were sitting in a tier above all the other builds. Most of the other builds were in this spot where they kind of felt crappy and they needed to be boosted a bit. Now, there were a few other ones like Ancestral Knowledge on Kront, and I don't know, I'm trying to think of the other ones. Immortality, Averon, I guess. was pretty relatively easy, but you needed to grind all the gear to get there, right? So I don't think the game needed quite a crazy shake-up that it got here. Like, I think some things needed to be brought down to be more reasonable. And then stuff like God of War and Inner Peace and Justice in general. Justice is so strong still in general. But stuff like God of War being like a one-click button that boosts your damage in such a significant amount, right? 222% damage increase. That wasn't changed. And Lady Justice... Okay, so in this last patch... the value of protection was brought down a bit. Now, protection was insanely strong. So, you know, Justice in general, being a defensive god, right, was really, really powerful. And will always be really powerful at Darkness 100. And that's the other thing. If you make Darkness 100 feel nearly impossible, then Lady Justice will basically be a requirement to clear it. And is that build variety? Is that the end game meta that you really want? The crazy end game meta that you want? Some of the off builds in the live game require stuff like God of War, Inner Peace, and Protection to really function. And I just don't think that is not build variety either. That is not super healthy for the game long term. Now, is it awesome to get God of War and start boosting your damage? Yeah, it feels great. Is it awesome to land a legendary and it helps you? Yeah, of course. So if you don't want to tone those down, that's fine. You have to bring some of the other builds up. So now where we've landed here, it's a little bit too easy, but build variety is starting to feel better. So that's where we've sort of landed right now. Okay, this one ended up being a little bit rambly, guys. Thanks very much for tuning in. We'll see where it goes from the future here. I as I said, I made my opinion known in the Discord. I tried to remain respectful, and look, I hope this video doesn't come across as too ranty or whatever. So, but I wanted to discuss the Darkness 100 or just difficulty philosophy in general, because I think where their head's at the moment is a little bit off to like off center, or I don't know, off meta, I guess you could say. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning into another one. Hope you have a fantastic, amazing day. We'll see where this all goes in the future. But until then, take it easy.